Alright, so this is our ranking in the Mandalorian Season 2. I'm going to be going over our ranking for every episode from Chapter 9 to 16. When we were making this list, we had a lot of trouble because we found that there really aren't any bad episodes. So this list is really just from good to best, I guess. So yeah, let's get into it. At the bottom of this list is Episode 2, Chapter 10, The Passenger, which was directed by Peyton Reed. This is by no means a bad episode at all, and that just goes to show how good this season really was, because it's a good episode. We got to meet cool characters like the Frog Lady, the New Republic soldiers. We got some really good scenes between Din and Grogu, and just the whole spider chase scene. All that stuff was great. Although it gets the bottom of the list just because it didn't do too much to push the story forward. I've seen a lot of people call it filler. I don't know if I'd necessarily agree with that, but because of that, it gets the bottom of the list here. Next up on the rankings, we got Episode 4, Chapter 12, The Siege, directed by Carl Weathers. This was also just another fun episode. We got to learn a lot about Cara Dune, Grief Karga, and we also got the Mythrol back. And so basically in this episode, they storm an Imperial base that's on Navarro, and they found out a lot that ties into the overall story of Star Wars with the clones and just where the season might be going. The action in this episode was really fun, but again, like Chapter 10, it kind of just felt like another side quest, which is never a bad thing, just compared to the excitement and all the extreme reveals and everything we got in the other episodes. I think this has to go in the 7th slot. Next up, we got Episode 7, Chapter 15, The Believer, directed by Rick Famuyiwa. This was the penultimate episode of the season, and I thought it was a great episode. Bill Burr made his comeback. He was originally in Season 1, and he's back now in Season 2, and he's a great addition for the episode. I really liked the way him and Mando worked off each other, and it was really just a fantastic episode overall. Back to Bill Burr, his acting is just incredible in this episode, and at first I wasn't too excited to see him, because I didn't love his episode in Season 1, and I didn't love his character in Season 1, but I think he really, really showed what he can do in this episode, and he was fantastic. Also, this is the first time of this season we see Mando take his helmet off. The only sort of issue I guess I had with this episode is that it being the penultimate episode really wasn't as exciting or grand scale as I was hoping it would be. And again, episodes don't need to have Ahsoka or Luke Skywalker in them to be great, and this proves that. This is a fantastic episode. But because this kind of feels like it takes a step back from the story and decides to slow it down, and it being the second to last episode of the season, this gets the 6th slot. Next, we got Episode 1, Chapter 9, The Marshal, which was directed by Jon Favreau. This was a fantastic way to start off the season. It was filled with action, mystery, and it was just a really, really cool episode overall. I really love Timothy Olyphant as Cobb Vanth, and I really want to see him return again. Not to mention, just the entire Krayt Dragon fight was really awesome. I really like to see the Tusken Raiders, and who can forget that reveal at the end, Boba Fett watching over Mando. This episode really, really got me excited for the tone and where the season was going to head, and as there are better episodes in the season, this scores as number 5 on the list. A really, really fun and great episode. Next we got Episode 6, Chapter 14, The Tragedy by Robert Rodriguez. This episode was filled with action. We got to see Boba Fett back with Slave One. He was also sporting the armor, which looked really cool. We also got to see some Fennec Shand. She was awesome. And we got to see Tython, which was a planet that was in Legends for so long. And yeah, now it's here. I just thought this was a really, really good episode, action-packed. It's not in the top 3, just because I don't think there's a whole lot of depth there beyond the really, really awesome action in Boba Fett. We also got to see the Dark Troopers in action when they took Grogu. And we just got an action-packed, awesome episode that I'll go back to for years. Next on the list, we got Episode 3, Chapter 11, The Heiress, directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. This is when I thought the show really started to take a shift in tone, and we really knew where we were headed with the story. The planet of Trask was really cool, just the ocean and all the different aliens like the Quarren, the Mon Cala, not to mention the Frog Lady. But most importantly in this episode, we got the introduction of the Clone Wars character Bo-Katan. But not just the character, this episode was also filled with really, really cool action. And again, we set up the story this season a little more. I think my favorite part of the episode, though, was when Mando first met Bo-Katan and the other Night Owls. We finally got the reason for why Mando doesn't take off his helmet, and it was just really cool for them to fill in that gap. This was a fantastic episode, and for that, it gets the third slot. Second on the list, we got Episode 5, Chapter 12, The Jedi, directed by Dave Filoni. This episode, we saw the introduction of Clone Wars character Ahsoka Tano, and let me just say, she was fantastic. She was written perfectly, just like she was in Clone Wars and Rebels. She looked great, and just everything about her was so awesome. We expected this for a while because of all the rumors and leaks that came out, but never like this. It was just handled fantastically. This episode had probably some of the best cinematography in the entire show. Notably, I really liked the fight between Ahsoka Tano and the Magistrate. I just loved the way it was shot, and it was really, really cool. We also got to learn a lot more about Grogu and his past, and we also got the name Grogu, which has still taken a little bit to get used to. Just seeing Ahsoka make her live-action debut was really just something fantastic for all Star Wars fans, and then her drop in Grand Admiral Thrawn was just the cherry on top. Dave Filoni really, really did a beautiful job with this episode, and because of that, this gets the number 2 slot. And at the very top of the list, we got Episode 8, Chapter 16, The Rescue by Peyton Reed. This is the final episode of the season, and it really all is just built up to this. We get Mando going to rescue Grogu with his team. We get Bo-Katan, Boba Fett, Cara Dune, Fennec Shand, Casca Reeves, all just great characters, and there's just some crazy action. Dark Troopers, we get Moff Gideon versus Din Djarin. We also get a setup for the next season of The Mandalorian, likely being that Din Djarin now is the Darksaber. Well, Bo-Katan wants it. She has to fight him for it. Oh, and of course, I can't forget Luke Skywalker, and I think that reveal is what puts this episode at number 1. They really just did a phenomenal job with the Luke reveal. I love the Dark Troopers punching through the door, and the suspense build, and then a single X-Wing comes through, and we just get a beautiful, beautiful sequence of Luke Skywalker. The CGI was a little off, I guess, but I think it was just done perfectly, and it was just fantastic to see Luke Skywalker back again, and that's what puts this episode at number 1. Not to mention, we also get a very, very emotional scene of Grogu and Din Djarin saying their final goodbye, and Din Djarin actually takes off his helmet for Grogu, which makes for a beautiful scene, but raises a lot of questions for next season. Overall, I think the season was fantastic. It was better than the first season, and that's saying a lot, because the first season was great too. There really weren't any bad episodes. What do you guys think of our rankings? Did you agree with our list, or have any different opinions? What was your favorite or least favorite episode? We'd really love to know in the comments below. Thank you for watching the entire video. This has been All New Nerds. We have a lot of cool stuff coming out for 2021. We really want to keep working on this channel, so we'd really appreciate a like, a sub, comment, and yeah, this has been the video. Thank you very much.